Alrighty, guys, I'm Morthadon, and we are back for My Hero Academia Season 4, Episode 16, I believe. Sorry if I got that wrong. I just looked it up, too, and then I forgot. I'm pretty sure it's 16. I'm pretty sure 15 was the last one. But yeah, guys, so I guess last episode we had kind of a what is everybody up to now and where is the story going sort of episode. We had a new intro that I watched and a new outro. They were very cool, very different. We might be getting some like school festival kind of stuff, like cultural stuff, like high schools do in Japan and stuff like that. So we might see some of that. The ending had some possible flashback stuff to, characters in school and stuff like that. So that'll be pretty cool. And then the episode had a lot to it. It actually touched on a lot of different bases, and a lot of them I forgot to talk about in the discussion, but I'm not going to talk too much about it here. But basically, it seems like we're most likely jumping into, not Togiyami, what the hell, Todoroki and Bakugo finishing up their provisional licensing, or they're just having a class that's going to be tougher than normal, according to the teacher dude, and then a conversation between All Might and Endeavor, and that stuff will probably be happening this episode. It'll be cool if maybe they finish up their provisional licenses, get on the same page as everybody else, so we can have the whole class together, back on track and back, trying to get things back to normal. So, yeah, guys, really looking forward to what happens this episode, so let's jump into it and see how it goes down. Alrighty, guys, so like usual, down in the description there's a Vimeo link. You guys can click that. It'll bring you directly to the reaction, and then you can come back here to the YouTube video for the discussion afterwards. So go ahead and click that link right now, guys. Alrighty, guys, so that's the end of episode 16. Interesting episode. Honestly, I think this is going to be one of the harder ones to edit, because okay, to give you a little rundown, I do this every now and then where I talk to you guys about my editing method, but usually I try to find the least interesting stuff where I usually talk the least for the most part. Sometimes I cut out parts where I talk and remove it, right? But in this case, it was really interesting conversation cut straight into really fun stuff with the kids, really funny, and I'm laughing and enjoying myself the whole time. And I think it's going to be really hard to cut out. I have to make a decision of okay, this one isn't as funny as this other time, so I'll have to cut that out. This serious part isn't as serious as the other part, and find a good combo there. Oh, it's so interesting. This episode's going to be tough. But yeah, anyways, let's talk about the episode instead of my methodology of editing. But basically, we got. I guess we'll address it in two halves. We'll address the serious conversation and the kid stuff. We'll address the kid stuff first, because I don't have as much to say about that. But basically, the kid stuff was really funny, because we have a bunch of people who. Some of them are good, I'd say, or could be good at dealing with kids. And then we have some that could be terrible at dealing with kids. And then we have some neutral, right? I'd put Inasa as, potentially really good with kids. They said at this episode where his passion kind of, in his energy can sometimes incite the kids into, following him a bit more. But obviously this is, a trouble class that doesn't exactly do that. Just because obviously Inasa needs to have some struggle as well. But I think in a normal situation, Inasa might be one of the best ones to deal with these kids, just because he's one of the most friendly, And then in the neutral category, I obviously put Todoroki, who is just trying to be himself, and then Cammy, who doesn't really seem to have any motivation to really get this done. She tried, one thing, and then the rest of the episode just ridiculed everybody else for what they were trying, right? Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's just, it seems like she's, kind of, lighthearted and more, go with the flow kind of thing, and however this plays out, well, whatever, that's how it plays out, whether I win or lose, because she wasn't oh my god, I gotta figure this out, I gotta win this. She was just alright, I'll pull this kid into my boobs and hug him, and now all the other girls hate me, and oh well, now I'll just talk about what everyone else is doing, you know? So I think she's just more on like the neutral side, in my opinion. And then there's Bakugo, who is on the probably not good with kids. Like I said during the episode, I think if Bakugo, even if he kept his angry voice, I think he could still say something or do something very motivational, you know, because we've seen a few times Bakugo, you know, be motivational just through his actions rather than his words and stuff like that, and people kind of looking up to that, right? So I think he could be that, but the problem is he needs to kind of get over himself a little bit, and you know, even I'm curious what he really would have done, because they always over exaggerate what Bakugo does, right? Like whenever they say like I'm gonna kill you, whenever he says that, obviously he doesn't really mean he's gonna kill you, right? Or whenever he throws, you know, Deku and says die, he doesn't actually want Deku to die. That's just something he says. So kind of the stuff he said this episode to find the boss and beat him up, and it showed like the little image of them throwing stones at him while he's like hanging. I don't think that's like an accurate representation of what Bakugo really wanted. I think that's just another overreaction from the show of what we think of Bakugo as this like angry, aggressive character, but still wants to be a hero kind of thing. I'm really curious what Bakugo's plan would be, what like how he would implement it once he like took down the boss, and they kind of are going with the fighting because I guess essentially the root of the problem here is that the kids think they're stronger than the heroes, and they haven't had anyone show them that they're wrong. But kind of like what Meathead said, Meatball guy, I can't remember his name. He was saying that they if you know, use your full power and just completely overwhelm them, you're gonna maybe even discourage them from being heroes. You know, you're gonna ruin their self-esteem and stuff like that. That's not the exact thing he said, but that's like me reinterpreting what he said. Um, but then if you let them win, obviously their cocky attitude is gonna continue, and they're gonna be like, "Ha! See, we beat heroes. We're better than them." So, like, they need to somehow find a different solution to this problem that they have that doesn't involve beating them but doesn't involve losing to them either, which is going to be interesting. I'm wondering what they're going to do in that situation, you know? Like, My Hero always has such a unique way of doing things that I really have no idea what that plan is going to be. So very interesting stuff. And it was only our four, you know, main-ish characters in this group. The rest of them, they said there was 11 total. So the other 7 are off doing their normal, like, just studies, like, lecture stuff, it sounded like. So, interesting. Um, but yeah, they basically gotta whip these kids into shape. But I really like that Gang Orca, even though he was yelling and being very aggressive and being very, very different from what we saw him in the previous episode, it's kind of cool, like, seeing a little more of him this time. But, he also believes in them, right? Even though he said you guys only have combat ability and stuff like that, the teacher was talking to him and saying, like, you know, all these kids are a problem. They're not going to be able to do anything about it. They just are uncontrollable. And he said, "Well, just watch. You know, I think these kids can get them into shape. You know," and that's kind of cool that Gang Orca, regardless of what he said when he was yelling at them, does like truly believe that they have the ability to pull this off. So I'm really like, I always love that kind of thing where, like, you know, these kids are all rowdy and disrespectful at first, but then by the end of this, they're going to be very respectful, and I really like that aspect of really any show in any context. You know, that kind of like that kind of thing where, you know, there's someone or a group of people that are disrespectful and stuff, but eventually the characters earn the respect they deserve and stuff like that. I'm really looking forward to seeing that, you know, in the next episode or the one after that, depending on however many it takes. But yeah, that's some cool stuff with kids. But the one of my other favorite parts, like that, the kids stuff was very funny, and I think it's gonna be very fun to see in the next episodes. But I think the highlight for this episode for me was definitely Endeavor and All Might, and how Endeavor was talking about how, you know, regardless of the pride that Endeavor has, as much as he wants to be number one, and he is number one now, but he didn't truly earn it, really, you know. I think he definitely. I mean, he even said in this episode that he's seeing how people talk about him and how people like how the crime rate has risen slightly and only a 3% increase. Granted, I'm pretty sure when it comes to crime rate numbers, they're relatively low, so I think 3% is a significant amount. But at the same time, you know, he's noticing this and he's realizing that, you know, All Might had this symbol of peace thing going, and even though I never respected him for it, I'm suddenly understanding like the burden and everything, and I want to know more about how he, you know, created the symbol of peace and how he built this, you know, wall that has been, or this pillar, you know, that has been holding up for his, you know, almost his whole tenure. Even All Might said that towards the beginning it was rocky, right? Like building it up, and and what's it called? But then, like, you know, Endeavor was like, I can see it crumbling, you know, like right before his eyes, him being number one, and he can't sustain what All Might built, and that's probably eating away at him, not only on a pride standpoint where he's not as good as him, but also on a like, because I truly believe that as messed up as Endeavor is as a person, I truly believe he wants the world to be better, right? He just wants to be the best at it. So he's starting to see the world slipping through his fingers, and he's having a hard time with it. So he actually went to All Might and talked to him about this, which is super interesting. And I like how All Might, his response wasn't like, oh, you need to follow in my footsteps, here's what I did. He said, you need to find something that works for you, something that, you know, something that people can grasp onto, but it doesn't have to be a symbol of peace. It can be something that you create and you form in your own image that people can, you know, grab onto and believe in and hope and, you know, and all of that. And I really like that. And I also love the symbolism of Endeavor talking about how he crawled his way to rank 2 by 20 years old, and it showed him like climbing the mountain, but you know, he has realized that he has reached his peak, but the peaks in front of him are so much higher, and he said that's why he is raising Todoroki. So it's not even, it's almost like his opinion has changed where he raised this thing to make him number one, to now he's passing it on to the next generation. He just hopes that Todoroki can be raised right now and you know, kind of take the mantle. But you know, I don't know if Endeavor truly thinks that he should be like in the beginning it seemed like Endeavor wanted Todoroki to achieve this goal for Endeavor, right? Not for Todoroki himself. And it's kind of starting to seem like Endeavor wants Todoroki to do it for Todoroki, you know, not just to be in his father's image and his father to be proud of and stuff like that. He just wants his son to succeed. So I think like a little bit of All Might is kind of wearing off on him, and he's starting to like realize that maybe being number one isn't all that's cracked up to be, or just not as easy as he thought it would be, you know? So I really, really love that aspect of the episode. And then there was some other like really funny like just third party things where like President Mike was there and he just, you know, he burst out and he's like, I'm a performer. I can't just sit here and, you know, watch this happen without announcing what's going on. And he just starts announcing and narrating everything that's happening, which is really funny. He's just a performer at heart, and that's just what he wants to do, and he does it when he wants to. I thought he was gonna start like laughing at the situation when he was sitting there like twitching, and I thought he was gonna like start bursting out laughing at these like kids that are messing with his classmates or his students and stuff like that. But no, he ended up just really finding the urge to need to do announcing, which is cool. Um, but oh man, but yeah, so a lot of the or some of the kids we saw were actually in a picture in the end credit, which kind of amplifies the idea that we might get to see everything that we saw in that ending in those pictures. We might actually get to see, which would be very cool. You know, possibly Toga backstory when she was in school. Either that or that's her pretending she's in school and that's current time, right? And she's infiltrating a school or something like that. But there's also, you know, past All Might and past I think there's some past Endeavor, or maybe it was current Endeavor. I'm not sure, but a lot of the stuff with Todoroki's brothers and sisters it looked like. And then also President Mike and Aizawa stuff too. So I'm very interested to see if we're gonna get that stuff. I talked about that last episode, but now that we have, you know, confirmation that one of the pictures is actually something in an episode, that means the rest might be. So that's exciting. But yeah, I mean, was there? Okay, yeah. I do want to talk about Cammy for a little bit. It's very interesting. I got corrected. I was going to go back and read it, but I did get corrected during the episode, and so I don't need to now. She is so carefree that she slept for 4 days because apparently she was drugged to go to sleep, I'm guessing, and I'm assuming, had her captured, where they took the amount of blood that Toga needed to pull off her, you know, get in, get out kind of situation that they did, and then released her. I guess it's a good thing they didn't kill her, but because they said the doctors found anesthetic in her blood, so I think that means that they did, like, you know, put her to sleep, take the blood, Toga did her thing, and they returned her to her bed or something because she didn't wake up in a strange place because she would have said something about that. And she just thought she slept for 4 days because she's just this carefree person, I guess. It's just like, oh, I must have slept that long, I guess, which is like crazy. But, you know, it seems like other people are very suspicious. They're catching on that someone else was there and stuff like that. So that's very interesting. But apparently, either Cammy didn't know at the time, or they still haven't told her because she's carefree and maybe they think she doesn't need to know. But it didn't seem like she was aware of the fact that this happened to her, right? Like, this is something other than her sleeping for 4 days. You know, that she was captured, put to sleep, blood was taken from her, someone imitated her and stuff like that. It didn't seem like she was aware of that. So I wonder why, if the meat guy was talking to, I believe, their teacher, their homeroom teacher possibly, about this, why did they not tell her? That seems like something very personal and something that she should know about, right? Like, even if it doesn't affect her in any kind of positive way, even if it's a negative, I would still want to know if someone drugged me and had me passed out for 4 days and had my blood and could copy me. You know, they could still have some of her blood and they could still copy her. So I don't know. It's just an interesting situation, it seems like, unless all of that was flashback. I can't remember now if all of that stuff was flashback and now she might know, but she still seemed kind of oblivious even throughout this whole episode. So I don't know. But it's interesting, very, very interesting. I just wanted to touch on that before we ended it here. But I think that pretty much sums up most of what I have to say. I'm looking forward to seeing how our heroes deal with these kids, how they neutralize them without, you know, essentially winning or losing if they go by what Meat said and finding that third option. So I'm very much looking forward to that. And also, you know, I'm not sure if the conversation between Endeavor and All Might is done, but I wouldn't be totally against seeing more of that. So Yeah, guys, I think that's it from me. I think I've talked about most of what I want to talk about. I may have missed one or two things here or there, but yeah. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I almost forgot this part. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Also, check out my Patreon. Links in the description. You can get all kinds of benefits there, and I appreciate all the support. Yeah, guys, once again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.